This one in today's politics might be difficult for a Canadian to get. This one is from Iran, was presented to me in Iran. I was there for a couple of days on meetings. And this one is another one from China with bone and all inlaid. So as I say, I've got about 50 of them. After my first election, my brother, he took an old window frame and did a bit of a collage of my first night election, and he titled it up here, 1988-89, A Time to Remember. So this is the night I won the election in 1988. So that's me signing the swearing-in ceremony when I went into the Member of Parliament. My daughter calls me Forrest Gump. Anybody that saw that movie with Forrest Gump with his lawnmower, she calls me Forrest Gump. And so I do that and enjoy that as well. Oh yeah, yes. I think I've spent well over $300 this winter buying bird feed. But last year, I don't think I spent $100, so I guess I need to spread it over more than 1 year. But they're enjoyable to watch. When you see some snow on that evergreen, you see a couple of cardinals sitting in it, they're beautiful. Well, the Vancliefs got on Victoria Road here many, many years ago. My father and his family lived in Cohill, which is up towards Bancroft, as people know. And when he was born in 1913. When he was 9 years old, the family moved down to a farm about 4 miles west of where we live right now. Brought everything down on the train from Cohill. And my father, some neighbors here went up to meet them. My father apparently drove the horse and the wagon down to bring all their help the family and bring all their stuff down. So then Mom and Dad rented a little farm, and then in 1943 they bought here. And this is where I was born. The house that I was born in, well, I was born in the hospital, but the house that they had then was a 2-story farmhouse. It burned down to the ground in January of 1951. Mom and Dad built back on the stone foundation. This is a picture of down at the Little Red Schoolhouse, SS number 7 in Amelisburg at the end of Victoria Road, is my grade 1 class. So unfortunately, out of the 5 of us, I think 4 of them are deceased, so I'm the only one left. Yes, my family always joked about they really loved my pants. I told them one time they were coming back in style, but I don't know whether it happened or not. Well, the little school is down the road a kilometer, Little Red Brick Schoolhouse. It was grades 1 to 8. I think it was maybe 1 year there might have been 30 students, usually around 27, 28, all grades, no kindergarten then, of course, at that time. So grades 1 to 8, 1 teacher. It was, it's one of those things, you know, there were no school buses. I mean, like everybody said, they walked to school, it was uphill both ways, but I was flat both ways, so I didn't have any problem that way. The little schoolhouse is still there. A couple from Toronto have bought it, and they've made it into a kind of a summer residence. But the last time I was in it, the big blackboards were still up across the front. They kept that part of it. So there's not too many old schoolhouses that are still left around. 1952, Queen Elizabeth II was coronated, and as a school project, I did this scrapbook. Interesting enough, in 1997, shortly after I became Minister of Agriculture, I got to meet the Queen in Toronto. So that was kind of touching. Ever since I loved agriculture, and I wanted to be involved in agriculture, and I wanted to farm. So I was very involved in 4-H clubs, which is rural youth leadership and citizenship, and it's a big rural and now rural-urban clubs across Canada. In Ontario alone, there's 6,000 young folks with about 1,800 voluntary leaders. So I was very involved as a club member and then as a leader. And I've said it many, many times, after the influence of my parents, 4-H had the next biggest influence on my life and how I live my life. So it was great. This is me with a 4-H calf. This is a news clipping of some of the trophies that I won through 4-H projects. 4-H is an incredible organization and training and parliamentary procedure, how to run a meeting, how to speak, impromptu or whatever, citizenship. So this is a trophy, one of the trophies I got through 4-H. When I was younger, there were agricultural clubs and there were homemaking clubs. Both boys and girls would belong to the 4-H clubs, whether that be a calf club or growing a plot of potatoes or a plot of corn or something, and both boys and girls would belong to those. The homemaking clubs back then, we guys would not be caught dead going to a homemaking club. It's just the way it was at that time. You know, it was tremendous. This is my graduation picture from the University of Guelph. 4 years of a degree in agriculture. When I was at Guelph, I was involved in student government, and I was president of the student council for the whole university when I was there. The university is much larger now, but it was still. That was in 1966, and this year I graduated from the university in '66, and this year is our 60th reunion of my classmates. So I got involved in the, as class president, I got involved in the student council for the Ontario Agriculture College, and at that time it had just become it was associated at that time with the University of Toronto. And then in 1965, the University of Guelph became can I say, a freestanding university. So I was president of the student council for the Ontario Agriculture College, but the other college was MacDonald College, which was the homemaking for gals, and then the Ontario Veterinary College. So then there was a union council, which each one of the three college councils belonged to. So in my final year at the university, I was president of Union Council, which was for all of the university. I farmed every summer with my dad and mom, and after I graduated, I came home. Sharon and I were married the same year that I was graduated in 1966. We will have our 60th wedding anniversary in July this year. Every summer I came home and worked with my mom and dad, and I came right back to the farm. For the first few years after I came back, Loyalist College was not as large as it is now, and the federal government had a program for marginal farmers, and it was an interesting program. There were probably a couple hundred farmers. I don't know how, they must have applied. They were paid to come to school. And the classes started at 4 in the afternoon and went to 11 at night, 5 days a week for 17 weeks over the winter. So I was the director of the program. So I hired the different instructors. There were instructors on wood shop, welding, crops, livestock, that type of thing. And the purpose of the program, the government wanted to help those individuals either be better farmers or to find another trade or something they could do, so they could do it as well as farming or rather than farming. So it turned out for years I would be out around, and somebody would come up to me and said, I was there one of those winters, Lyle. So I was farming with Dad, but I was director of that program in the evenings for several years. So it was a little extra income at that time, but I met a lot of people, and we put together a pretty good staff. Unfortunately, my dad passed away in 1985, and Sharon and I continued to run the farm, and we bought some property, we rented a lot of property, and built it up to about 1,500 acres. My age, I still talk acres. The younger people talk hectares, but I talk acres. But then through a number of situations, commodity prices and weather, etc., we made the decision in the winter of 1986-87, mostly the spring of 87, spring of 88, I'm sorry. We kept the house and 4.5 acres, and we sold the rest of it, and enjoy it very much. I hope I can stay here for a long time yet. Over the years as well, I guess it's really the farm that I was doing when I was farming. I collected a lot of scale model tractors. I got about 20 different ones of those, and I think our son's going to want those when I get done with them. This is the newspaper article that after I won the election in 1988, the riding had been conservative for a long period of time, and actually the Prince Edward portion of my riding, the last Liberal candidate was 1908, and I became the Liberal candidate, or the Liberal member, in 1988. I ran in 4 elections, and in the 1997 election, Jean Chrétien invited me to join the cabinet as Minister of Agriculture. I remember clearly sitting at his desk, and he said, "I have confidence you can do it. If you do not, I will move you." This is 2 pictures of me in Prime Minister Jean Chrétien's office, sitting at his desk with him. He left me there through that mandate and on into the next mandate, and I was there until he stepped down as Prime Minister in December of 2003. And that was an awesome experience. It was a lot of travel, a lot of meeting trade issues, some of them more delicate than others. When I was appointed to the cabinet, the last cabinet minister in the Quinte area was Sir Mackenzie Bowell, who was Prime Minister for a very short period of time, and that was in the 1890s. So and I was the next cabinet minister in the Quinte area. I had the privilege of meeting the Queen. I met Pope John Paul, and I didn't get a chance to chat with him, but I did shake the hand of Dalai Lama. It's just incredible experiences. I had an incredible team when I was minister to support me and work with me, and so anyway, it's been a great life, and I hope I can keep it going for quite a while yet. So this is the night I won the election in 1988. I was in London, England, and I was to give a speech at a big conference on Monday morning. And Saturday night, my staff came to my hotel room and they said that there was a possible case of mad cow disease in Canada. They were going to check overnight to make sure. Sunday morning, they informed me that it was proven that was the case, and it's an international reported case. So I contacted the High Commissioner in London, and I said, here's my speech, you can give it on my behalf tomorrow. And I came home, and I was going to officially announce it publicly in Alberta, because that's where the cow was found. Before we left Ottawa, I tried to reach my counterpart in the United States, the Secretary of Agriculture, Ann Veneman, in the U.S. We could not reach her, but we reached the U.S. Ambassador in Canada. And while I was flying out to Alberta, he reached her. So I was sitting in the office of the Alberta Minister of Agriculture talking about this before we went into the press room there to announce it. And her staff came in and said, Minister Vanclief, Secretary Ann Veneman's on the phone. So I went. It had not been officially announced that we had the case, and she informed me that after the U.S. Ambassador in Canada called her, she had already closed the border to Canadian beef, which they would have done anyway. But anyway, she was a lovely lady, but I wish she'd had a little more respect and wait until later. But we kept in contact over trying to get the border open.
It was closed to imports of all live cattle after a case surfaced in Canada of bovine spongiform encephalopathy, or BSE, the so-called mad cow disease. Since the border closure,
Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease is a breakdown of the prions in the brain. And the only way it can be found, whether it's in any other animals, is to sacrifice the animal and test the brain. To do that, we found at that time, no more cases, and we actually sacrificed about 4,000 animals, because we could trace out, in Canada, we can trace out the breeding lines. They cannot do that in many countries. They can't do it in the U.S. But here again, the U.S. Shut the border, and many other countries, of course, did shut the border to Canadian beef. So that was very, very tough. I was at a conference in California after that, and I was meeting with her, and the industry knew that I would be meeting with her, and I think they were certainly hoping that I would be able to get the border open. And after the meeting, I had a media call back to Canada, so I was not able to say that the border had been opened to Canadian beef, but my communication people told me afterward that on that media call, there were 140 media on the other end of the call. And they said, that's a big one, Minister. You don't usually get that many on a call. So anyway, we didn't get the border open for a long time, but finally we did. It was a big issue. I mean, it cost the Canadian industry billions of dollars, the beef industry. Not only the cattle industry, but the beef processing, because a lot of Canadian beef goes in the United States. I remember coming out of question period one day, and outside the House of Commons, right in the foyer, that's where the media would meet. And there was one microphone that they called the pole mic, which was the main one. So because of the issue, I was the one that was directed to the pole mic. And one reporter said to me, Minister, do you think the United States has ever had a case of mad cow disease? And I said, the United States has never reported a case of mad cow disease. Another reporter said, but Minister, do you think they've ever had a case of mad cow disease? I said, the United States, I kept my voice calm, never reported a case of mad cow disease. Another reporter said, but Minister, do you think they've had a case of mad cow disease? I said, the United States has never reported a case of mad cow disease, and they have never reported a case of mad cow disease yet. I'm not saying, I don't know whether they have cases or not. I don't know. But I mean, I was not going to say they might have, because the politics of that, because I was telling the truth. They had never reported one. I had one meeting with the Vice Premier of China. And when you think there's 1.4 billion of them, when you get to meet the Vice Premier, you're pretty well to the top of the poll. I remember making a presentation to a round table in Cornell University, and who came in and sat down right straight across the table, 6 feet away from me, was John Kenneth Galbraith. Wow, am I going to be challenged on anything I say in this discussion tonight? But he was, I'm proud to say, he was pretty complimentary. And traveling over the years as well, I have collected a lot of, I guess you could call them canes or walking sticks. I've got over 50 of them. Some of them are extremely unique. This is one out of rosewood from India. This one here is from Jamaica. This one is bone. It's all bone from China. This one, in today's politics, might be difficult for a Canadian to get. This one is from Iran. It was presented to me in Iran. I was there for a couple of days on meetings. And this one is another one from China with its bone and all inlaid. But there was a disease found in 67 potatoes in Prince Edward Island, but the United States shut off potatoes from Canada, not only from Prince Edward Island, but right across the country for about 6 months. And we developed the protocol to take care of that, and it was exactly the same protocol that the U.S. had put in place when they had the disease. However, they didn't accept that we did the same thing. So we kept lobbying that, and it was interesting. The President of the United States was going to be meeting with Prime Minister Chrétien for dinner, and he made it very clear that at the dinner that the President was eating Canadian potatoes. Jean Chrétien had a great sense of humor, and he got a great kick out of that. So, but we finally did get the border open. 67 potatoes, that's all. 67. 67. I really like this. It was given to me by the Ducks Unlimited. I do have a map on the wall out in the garage that I've put stick pins in the countries that Sharon and I have either been together or I was at as minister, and I counted them up the other day, 70 countries that I have been to and in. And some of the countries like the United States and Canada and Australia, I put pins maybe to cities that I was at as well. To Myanmar or Burma, here's Cambodia and the Philippines, and here's a number up in Europe, all up there. There are countries that I was at. Cuba, I guess you wouldn't go to Cuba right now, you can't get there. And Dominican Republic and that, and we would go to Mexico. But these are, there's Ecuador and Chile, Japan, Korea, Ukraine. I was there with, after I retired, I was there with the Dean of Agriculture at the University of Guelph. Went over there on a group. He was, we had meetings over there with their agriculture people. In Canada, if you become a minister, you have to be an MP first, Member of Parliament. In the United States, when they're called secretaries rather than ministers. The president appoints somebody as secretary. They're not elected to the Congress. They're not elected to the Senate. Dan Glickman had no agriculture background. Ann Veneman, I think she was from California originally. She had a little bit of agriculture background, but they have a great team working with them. One of the things that I was always recognized that because we had such a diversified farm here, there wasn't any place that I could go in Canada that I wasn't familiar with that type of farming. You know, we had hogs, we had beef. When I was young, my father had a small dairy operation. We grew corn, we grew soybeans, we grew potatoes, we grew tomatoes. We had 25 acres of strawberries at one time. We had 10 acres of apple orchard. We grew sunflowers, we grew acres of zucchini and cauliflower, etc. So, you know, I could go into the fruit area and I knew what they were talking about, you know, and I could go to the cattle area and I knew, you know, etc. You know, and fisheries was not in my portfolio. Looks like one of his security guys got on the edge of the photo. Every year that I was MP, we had a corn roast, they call them, but it was boiled corn. And we had the most of them here on our lawn. And the one year, Prime Minister Chrétien came and his wife, Hélène. And the day he came, that Sunday afternoon, we had 3,000 people here on our lawn around the house. We as Canadians have developed a very diversified appetite. When I was in public school down here, we had a Christmas concert. It was always, the parents would put up a platform at the front of the church across the road. When you think back now, you know, I guess it was safe, but it was just a bunch of boards, you know, with a curtain across in front. And we'd go up and do our little recitation, you know, this type of thing. But then Santa would come and hand out presents, but Santa would also hand you a stocking with candy in it, and there'd be an orange at the toe of the candy, of the sock. That's when probably the only orange you got all year. And now we go into the grocery store and you can get, I mean, you know, we're not buying product. Sharon's not buying product now from the United States, if at all possible to, you know. But you get blueberries from Chile. You get green beans from Mexico. Beautiful quality stuff. And you go down through the fruit and produce area. It's absolutely awesome, you know, where it comes from. And we've developed that appetite. We all, you know, that can I say that menu? But we in Canada, you know, we produce all the basic stuff. We produce all the eggs we need. We produce all the milk we need. Produce all the chicken we need. We produce all the beef we need, and export all the pork we need. You know, we export corn. We export wheat. We export soybeans. Export canola from Western Canada. But overall, those years as minister were incredible experience. But it's like anybody's job. It's like being a parent, a teacher, a nurse, or a mechanic, or whatever. It's like life in general. Some days were more fun than others. This is from Scotland. They all got a tag on them, but I can't remember the numbers. I have to get my list out. This one is from a little one from Rwanda. Well, when I retired from politics, I didn't do very much for a few months, just to let down a little bit. But then I was invited to on a corporate board and some other boards. One thing that I'm very happy to be involved with. There was a couple in Belleville, Jack and Bernice Parrott, who had owned a lot of property, and they had no family over the years. They built up a very, very large private foundation. They're both deceased now, and the people will see, and you know, where the John M. and Bernice Parrott Foundation made a contribution, whether it to be healthcare or culture or whatever. The mandate of the foundation is to improve the quality of life and of people in the Quinte area. So it's a pretty broad mandate. So it's a small board, but I am president of that board. It's a volunteer board. So we're very appreciative of the legacy that Mr. and Mrs. Parrott left. As I say, you'll see their name around a fair bit, but they certainly made a difference and continue to make a difference with their legacy in the Quinte area. I got a beautiful one from the Minister of Agriculture in Russia. He and I became good friends. It's in St. Petersburg. It's a famous library. I was to meet him there, and Sharon was with me, and 2 or 3 of my staff. We were having dinner, and Alexei Gordeyev was his name. And I said before he came to Sharon and the staff, I said, it'll be interesting when Alexei comes to see how he greets me, you know, because we'd had some discussions. And we're not unfriendly, but we had some, you know, some discussions about the thing. So he came in and came right over. He gave me a great big Russian bear hug. And I said, okay. So anyway, this is interesting. He gave me he gave Sharon, I think, a couple of earrings, beautiful little earrings. And it was a year or two later, Sharon was with me somewhere, and she was wearing those. And as soon as he saw Sharon, he says, "You're wearing my earrings." He remembered. He was a super guy. He was, I don't know what he's doing now. He was very close to Putin. He was in the KGB with Putin. In the summertime, my volunteer work seems to be on the lawnmower. Last year, by the time I did all of that, that was taking about, between the flower beds and mowing and that type of thing, about 30 hours a week. And so I enjoyed that. It was a good exercise. Once in a while, our son, who owns Willow Lee Sod, which is a very large business, he may give me a call and say, "Dad, what are you doing right now?" And I always find a way. If he wants me to run and do an errand for the business, I'm always glad to do that. There's the Canadian Agriculture Hall of Fame, and every year there are 3 or 4 people from the agricultural and agri-food industry that are inducted into that Canadian Agriculture Hall of Fame. And in 2010, it was after I had retired from politics, I was honored by being inducted into the Canadian Agriculture Hall of Fame. So it was pretty touching to have that recognition.